Garcia, the Treasurer for the Hawaii Conference Council. We report on the conference's fiscal year that ended June 30 and introduces a proposed budget for fiscal year 2020 to 2021, which ends on June 30. Also joining Linn is Corinne Murashige, Controller for the Hawaii Conference and Foundation. So take it away, ladies.
Thank you, Lori. For those who are joining the webinar, it might help if you pull out pages B7 and B8 from your Aha packet. This is a summary budget comparison and actual financial information for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2020. As Lori said, we will be taking questions and giving you answers as well as we can. The first part of the presentation will be on the financial operations of the conference. And when that is finished, we will take questions regarding to the financial statements. After that, we will go on into the proposed budget. Our audit this is for the year ending June 30, 2019. This audit was conducted by KKDLY LLC, a new auditor for the conference and foundation. The auditors issued a clean report. There was no management letter issued and no identified areas of concern. Moving on to the financial presentation. Financial statements for fiscal year ending June 30, 2020. Revenues were under budget by $554,000, primarily because of the income from funds, Hawaii Conference Foundation distributions, OCWN, and Mission Memorial Fund line items. Income from funds and Mission Memorial funds were on target, but are not reflected as revenues because they were actually withdrawals from investments, not revenues. Transfers from the foundation was under budget by $322,909. The foundation was not able to make the transfers in the amounts budgeted. The conference was able to obtain a payroll protection program loan for $137,900. The effects of COVID-19 were seen in contributions from churches, which decreased from March through June compared to the same period in 2019 by the following amounts. In March contributions were almost $9,500 less than they were the March before. April, the contributions were almost $12,000 less than they were the April before. May, the contributions were just a little bit over $22,000 less than what they were the year before. And in June, the contributions were a little over $8,000 less than what they had been the year before. For the first time, the conference's share of the main office's repairs and maintenance, $68,104, and insurance expenses, $13,142, were reflected in the conference financials to give a more accurate picture of the cost of running the conference. Previously, these appeared in the foundation financials. Although the conference shows a net loss for the year of $286,876, there is an unrealized loss on investments of $99,767 that was not actually incurred. So that $99,000 loss is included in the $286,000, but we did not sell those investments during the period. So it's what the $99,000 would have lost would have been what was what we would have realized if we had sold those investments. but we didn't, so it's just a book loss. Okay, where is the PPP on actual income? Corinne, you want to address this one?
Sure. Hello, Olaf. Nice to see you on. The PPP is actually on the statement of financial position because it's a loan, which is a liability. So it isn't on the income statement.
Okay, so it's not considered income. It's a loan. Okay. Any other questions? Then we'll go on to the budget for this year, the current fiscal year. Okay, excuse me, there was another question. Why was the Marshallese account amount allotted not used? I'm not sure who to refer this to.
That we would need to check with the Justice and Witness team. I'm not sure if there's a Marshallese account or is it a Micronesian account, but we can check with the Justice and Witness team on that.
Looks like we had a witness Micronesian committee and they had $538 in expenses.
Okay, we're going on to the budget for the current year. Budgeted revenues are lower by $322,107 and net revenues by $292,107. The foundation distribution is budgeted at $91,307 lower than for fiscal year 2020. As the conference and foundation are trying to lower expenses as part of a 7-year plan to bring the foundation to a more stable financial position. The asterisk items in the budget were included in revenues in the budget for fiscal year 2020, but are shown in fiscal year end 6/30/21 as a below the line item, because these income items at any rate are not truly revenue, but it's like they're coming out of savings. OCWM is budgeted at $60,000 lower than it was last year. The amount that we're budgeting this year is closer to what it actually was for 2020. Administration is lower by $55,270. In order to lower expenses, one associate conference minister position was eliminated from the budget. The staff is also taking 5 unpaid furlough days. The savings from these items is about $80,000. The conference office will be closed on Monday, and this is the second furlough day that staff is taking. The conference's share of repairs and maintenance and insurance are reflected in the fiscal year 21 budget for the first time, which is why the administration general and administrative budget is so much higher in fiscal year 21. Justice and Witness is lower by $12,450, primarily due to Justice and Witness events, which decreased by $10,000. We are projecting a budget deficit overall of $58,007. Thank you for listening. If you have questions, please type them into the Q&A. From where is the deficit drawn? Corinne, you want to address that?
Hello, Olaf. It's so nice to have somebody asking questions because now we know somebody's listening. Okay, how are we going to get the deficit covered? We're hoping that some expenses are lower than we budgeted. For example, because this is an online meeting, hopefully the expenses are lower than budgeted. Let's say we come to the end of the year and we spend exactly what we had budgeted. Foundation would cover the deficit.
Okay, another question. Why was $122,281 sent in OCWM when $150,000 was budgeted? And did the HCUCC warn the national setting of the UCC that less was forthcoming? I can answer the first part of that. Whatever the conference receives in OCWM monies, and Corinne, correct me if I'm misstating this, the conference keeps half and half goes to the national UCC.
That's correct.
So we had budgeted $300,000 for fiscal year 2020, but we only received $240,000, which is why our payment to the national OCWM was that much less. Do we have any idea of what we might expect from congregational support between now and the end of the fiscal year? I don't think we really have an idea. I mean, if someone else wants to chime in here, it's really up to the congregations and how generous they feel they can be for the conference.
Hello. I'm on camera now. Okay, so for July, we were 2,470 less than we were last year, which was 12% because apparently July is not a good year for OCWM contribution, but 2,470 less.
Alan, who asked this question, I would say your guess is as good as ours. Okay. You answered that if there's an actual deficit at the end of the year, the foundation covers the conference. Is there already a line item on the proposed budget that reflects income from the foundation? If so, what is the percentage draw? Okay, on the budget, there's an HCF distribution. That is the draw. And our budget for that for 21 is $765,000. Corinne, you mentioned the percentage. Last year it was 7 point something and we're trying to get it down some. So what is the percentage?
Yeah, sorry, it took me a little while because I didn't expect the foundation questions. I had to pull it up. So currently, if foundation doesn't have to cover, foundation is budgeted to take 7.95% of the unrestricted fund this year. So if we have to cover another 58,000, it would be an 8.40% drop.
If we are removing one conference minister, is there support staff for that position that is also no longer to be funded? The support staff supports all of our conference minister and associate conference minister. There are not staff that are specifically assigned just to the associate conference ministers.
Yeah, so
this time.
You should probably pray for David and for Richard because they're going to have to pick up the work of, that Dorothy used to perform.
Okay, what is the target draw we're trying to get down to?
The target that we're trying to get down to is between 4.5 to 5%. We are hoping that we can get there in 7 years. We have a plan.
Anonymous attendee selling the building. Corinne, do you want to comment on that? It is something that's under discussion.
Something that's under discussion. Selling the building is going to be a little bit tricky because the current, I don't know what it's called, the permitting is we cannot sell it except to another nonprofit. So there's a zoning restriction. So we have to sell it to another nonprofit.
What types of events are you expecting as the budget was increased?
Can you clarify the question? I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
In the revenue section under events, we've increased the budget to 107,000 from 63,000. And I guess the question is, what are we expecting?
I believe it's because we have two Aha's budgeted, but if Laurie is on.
This is David Popham. Corinne, you are correct that increase was to indicate to Aha Pae that when the budget was being created, we thought both would be in-person meetings.
Hey, a question, is the draw at 7% at this time? As Corinne said, it's over 7% right now.
So for fiscal year ended 6/30/20, the foundation actually had a draw of 6.78%. The reason it could take such a small draw was because of the payroll protection loan. If the conference had not gotten that loan, foundation would have been considerably higher. For fiscal year 21, the projected draw is 7.95%.
So almost 8%. Question, could the conference lease the building?
We probably could, but we had a space planner come in and try to figure out how we could subdivide. You know, there's all kinds of, how do you know, what are the access, you know, where's the entrance, all kinds of issues. $500,000 to do the renovation, so probably not feasible.
Can you explain the relationship between Corinne and Ann O'Salvo? Ann is being shared right now between the two entities, the foundation and the conference. How does that work actually?
So she and I both are 50% between the conference and the foundation. So we both do work for both entities.
Jeannie is asking on YouTube, will HCUCC have to repay the PPP loan?
We probably will not have to repay the PPP loan. In fact, I've had the forgiveness and the documents ready for months, but First Hawaiian Bank still hasn't given me the final, opened up the portal. So once that happens, it'll show as revenues. It gets converted from a loan to a grant.
Administration, general and administration has a $84,000 increase. What does that entail if it is not staff salary, taxes, and benefits? I think that's where those expenses that we talked about, the repairs and maintenance and insurance, are now included that were not included before. Ken says, thank you for asking the tough questions. Yes, definitely. If we did virtual for both AHAs to save money, wouldn't that cover the $85,000 plus deficit?
Yes, that's what we're hoping.
What has been the impact of the market on HCF investments? Corinne, I don't know if you want to just very generally address this, since we're not really talking conference financials. I know early on there was a drop in value, but it has rebounded, and I think we're up close to where we were before the whole thing started. Could the conference rent out a space at a church? Yes, we could, and that is something that we are exploring.
To go back to the question on the investments, I think it was in the month of March, the cost per share, the cost per unit, or market value per unit, went from $700 something to $595, just as a result of the drop in the market. However, in the month of August, we topped the high. So we rebounded and more in the month of August. I haven't finished closing for September.
Okay, there's a question still on the board. The budget for 2020 was 63,000 and budget for 2021 is 107,000. That is in the administrative general category, and most of that is the insurance cost and the repairs and maintenance. Where was the repair and maintenance budgeted last year, or was it paid separately? Corinne, that was in the foundation.
Correct. So even though the conference staff was so much bigger than the foundation staff, foundation had been covering 100% of the expenses of the office. So because we were in discussion about should we completely separate the foundation and the conference, you know, I said, you don't have an accurate picture of how much it costs to run the conference because one of your biggest expenses isn't being reflected on the conference side. You know, if the conference were to move to a separate location, they would have to pay rent. So you don't have a true picture of what it would cost to do that.
Any more questions? We've got time. This was scheduled for an hour, but it's not going that far.
We have 42 people. I wish I could see everybody. Hello, everybody.
That's awesome. Okay, are we now divided into Hawaii Conference and Hawaii Conference Foundation?
No, we are not. Oh, did you want to respond, Andy?
Yeah, let me, this is Andy Bunn. Let me respond. We are, the old structure still exists. The governance, the board of trustees of the foundation continue to be appointed either by the Aha Pae or by the conference council. So really coming entirely from the conference side. Although the foundation is and always has been a separate entity from the conference, and the foundation continues to function in as a trustee capacity for many of the conference's funds, as well as the church funds and the properties that it holds. So although separate entities under the same mission purpose, the foundation, you know, they are separate entities and with the same mission purpose, but the governance of the foundation is appointed by the conference still.
I understand the conference council and foundation trustees all donate to the Friends of the Conference. I think that's incredible. Can we create a fundraising campaign so our churches do the same? That looks like a good idea. We will be electing a stewardship chair tomorrow, and this is something we can offer that person to look into. Okay, are there other adjustments to the budget besides insurance and maintenance that Corinne would make?
Unlike the foundation side, conference doesn't include the controller in the budget process. I think this is something set out by the bylaws. So when the conference council sees it is kind of when I see it.
Eric asked, are you confident that the financials now reflect the actual expense of doing the conference's ministry, or do you think you may find additional places that the foundation is paying expenses directly without going through the conference financials?
besides repairs and maintenance, things like the copy machine. You know, the conference was charging the foundation for the overage on the copies, but the foundation was paying 100% of the lease of the copier. So I said, no, that doesn't make sense. So, you know, little things like that, as we're going further along, you know, I'm making sure to clean up those types of things.
Okay, what percentage of the income generated from the Craigside condos is factored into the income for HCUCC or the conference? Actually, the Craigside income goes into the foundation. So very indirectly would it come through the draws to the conference.
Thank you, because someone made it a point to send a chat to Lynn to say thank you. And I have to say, I have been so grateful to work with Lynn. She's one of those, you know, she comes every week to sign the checks, just so dependable, so faithful. We're just so blessed to have had her. Love you, Lynn.
Thank you, Corinne. It was a pleasure to be of service here. How do we do a standing ovation? Someplace there's claps, I don't know.
Woohoo!
Okay, the nature of the conference's business is such that I cannot see cutting more operating cost without compromising the mission of the conference. Do you folks have thoughts about how we can raise revenues? I think the stewardship missional team will be looking into that very definitely. If you have ideas, please forward them when we find out who the stewardship chair is after the elections tomorrow. Alan Akana says thanks to the entire finance team as well. Amen. It is a joint collaboration, very definitely. Mahalo nui to all of you for doing a commendable job. Thank you for being here and listening and asking hard questions.
We love the churches. You know, we're here to serve the churches. So thank you folks for what you do.
So there's a question on YouTube from Jolynn. Can the line item for administration - general and administrative be more specific and delineate a proposed budget amount?
Well, we have a proposed budget amount, but it's not broken down into further categories.
Yeah, I think for the committee and for the conference council, probably a little more information is provided. But generally, you know, as you get further and further out, it gets more general. So it starts off specific with the people that are, you know, actually having to review the budget and stuff.
One more question on YouTube from Rhoda regarding the PPP loan. What expenses did we use that loan for?
Specifically for payroll and medical.
What do you like and dislike about this format?
Frankly, I really hated that I can't see anybody because I just love to see your faces. You know, I hardly ever get to see you folks.
The one thing I do like is you can't see me shuffling around my papers looking for something. So that's a good point, but I agree with Corinne. I like to see people in person. Okay, what did we get for the $8,459 from the B1 initiative? Not an awful lot. There were a lot of problems with the product that was provided, and eventually the council decided to step back from that program.
I think Dominic is raising his hand. Oh, were you trying to clap for Lynn? Is that what that was? Because there's no question.
Okay. This process, along with Mr. Bunn's workshop, along with Kahu Popham's address, really showed how the Hawaii Conference Foundation is working for the conference and its churches. Mahalo nui to the Hawaii Conference Foundation leadership, team, and board. Hard times, but your candor really helps us to see what we are facing for the next 2 to 3 years. Will you continue this as the year unfolds and plans unfold?
Mr. Bunn.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we want to be as transparent as we can as we go through these challenges, and you know, collaborate with each other. We're all doing it for a common purpose, and the answer is yes. We will keep people informed. We will be having meetings, and we certainly will be doing some webinars from time to time to update the larger our larger constituency.
Okay, so I didn't have a chance to do this for David. I just want to let you know that David has been fantastic to work with. You know, I'm just so, I feel like the conference and the foundation have been so blessed with the people that are in leadership. So, you know, I'm just super thankful to God that, you know, at this pretty critical, I feel like critical time, the right people were put into place. Thank you, Jesus.
Anonymous attendee has a question. Is Kikawa Group an acronym for a consulting firm? Please explain. It's the name of a consulting firm. Anyone else want to add to that, Andy?
Yeah, it's a subgroup within the Raymond James firm. So these are advisors we use to consult on our investment holdings.
Did you want to say something, David?
I was hoping to stay in the background. I will concur with what Andy said earlier, that our goal is to be as transparent as we can with the unfolding finances before us. The good news is that as we continue the monthly conference-wide Zoom meetings, that could be a platform from which we could speak to these realities. Thank you.
I'm so sorry, I forgot to mention Caroline. She's been amazing. She was the person, Caroline and Warren really helped to move things forward. You know, when we realized that there was an issue that had to be addressed. So again, how great is God? You know, that he had the right people in the right place.
Okay, Nalene has a comment. I agree with Corinne's mana'o. It shows mega mahalo to Kahu Popham and his executive time, maybe team, I'm not sure, and to Caroline and the conference council leadership. Okay, yeah, it is team. Thank you, Nalene. If there are no further questions or comments, we can end this and thank God for the church and the work that the Hawaii Conference is doing here.
Again, thank you for joining us. Thank you to Lynn and Corinne. This is our last workshop for the 198th Aha Pae āina. Thank you, God. We thank you for your patience as we worked out the bugs here and there. It has definitely been a learning experience for all of us. So thank you again. Until next time, have a good evening.
Thank you. Good night.